Respect is rarely loud. It's the silence that comes after a shot that hits dead center. Ever watched someone so still you thought they were invisible until they moved and the whole world shifted with them? Julie Scott didn't walk into the shooting range like she was trying to prove something. She didn't strut or swagger. She wasn't wrapped in tactical gear or wearing a "don't tread on me" hat like most of the regulars who used Saturdays to cosplay as war heroes. She was just a woman in a faded flannel shirt, work-worn jeans, and boots that had seen better days. Hair tied in a low ponytail, no makeup, no visible attitude. She carried a case that was scratched and scuffed from years of travel, but meticulously cared for. Not the kind of woman who drew eyes when she walked in, but maybe that was the point. She signed her name in cursive on the waiver clipboard without making conversation, and the young man at the counter, Toby, barely 20, high and tight haircut and a permanent smirk, barely glanced up as he slid her a lane card. "Lane 7, paper targets are by the wall. You want tactical silhouettes, that'll be extra." Julie nodded once, thanked him, and walked toward the back of the range. She didn't miss the way he rolled his eyes the second she turned. Didn't react either. She'd seen boys like Toby her entire life, always performing. She sat up quietly, her case clicking open like clockwork, revealing a well-loved Remington 700, customized but modest. There were no flashy upgrades, no gold triggers, no suppressor hanging off the end for drama. Just a rifle that did exactly what she needed it to do and nothing more. "Yo, who gave Grandma a bolt action?" Someone laughed from lane 5. The voice belonged to Chad Miller. Broad-shouldered, barrel-chested, and loud. Always loud. Brett Yates, his friend, chimed in with a too-loud whisper. "Maybe she's one of those prepper types, end-of-days bunker in her basement, stockpiling cans of soup and silver bullets." The laughter echoed louder than the gunshots. Julie loaded her rifle slowly, methodically, taking her time lining up the target at 100 yards. Her eyes didn't flicker toward the noise. They stayed steady, just like her breath. 1, 2, 3. Correct. Dead center. Right through the same hole. She adjusted slightly, more out of habit than need, compensating for nothing in particular, but it was in her bones now, like riding a bike or handling grief. Chad's group quieted. Julie took off her hearing protection and stepped back from her rifle. She stretched her neck and rotated her shoulder with a slow, deliberate breath, like she'd just taken a sip of coffee. "You done already?" Toby asked, arms crossed as he leaned against the wall, watching. There was a note of doubt in his voice, like maybe he was trying to gauge if what he'd seen was real. "No," Julie replied simply, "just warming up." Behind her, Chad was coming closer, casual steps masked in forced bravado. His Oakleys still sat on top of his buzz cut, useless in the indoor lighting, but part of the uniform. His T-shirt had a pun about body counts and protein shakes. "You military lady?" he asked, voice pitched for dominance, not conversation. Julie didn't answer right away. She adjusted her target stand, flipping to a fresh sheet. "Still quiet." "Come on," Brett egged on. "If you're going to outshoot all of us, at least give us your origin story." Julie finally turned, but only slightly. "No story, just practice." Chad grinned like he smelled blood. "That right? 'Cause I could have sworn I saw that shot grouping on an Army qualification range. Or was it Marines?" Julie gave a faint, unreadable smile. "You missed your calling as a detective." "Oh, I didn't miss anything. But you? You might have missed the part where we shoot for score every third Saturday. Winners get bragging rights and a free box of ammo. Think you're up for it?" Julie looked past him, checking the line. Half the lanes had gone still. Eyes were starting to follow the conversation. She nodded once. "Sure, let's shoot." It wasn't bravado, it wasn't arrogance. It was a simple statement delivered like it didn't matter at all. But Chad's grin tightened. He was the kind of man who needed other people to play the game with him. Trash talk, pre-match psyche outs. This woman wasn't giving him any of it. Within minutes, the range officer, a guy named Doug with a Vietnam cap and bifocals, had agreed to moderate the challenge. Targets were posted, distance set, 5 shots, 2 minutes, best grouping. Chad stepped up first, cracking his neck like a football player before a play. He fired with flair, pausing between shots to make it look calculated. When he stepped back, his grouping was tight. Impressive for a civilian shooter, not perfect, but enough to earn claps from Brett and the onlookers. Julie said nothing as she took the lane. She didn't breathe until her cheek kissed the stock. Then she exhaled like she was letting go of something older than all of them. Each shot followed with eerie stillness. No twitch, no shift, no drama. Just purpose. When Doug reeled in the targets, the room fell into the kind of silence that can't be faked. All 5 rounds, one ragged hole. Chad looked at it, then at Julie, his mouth twitching with something between disbelief and anger. Brett muttered, "No way," but didn't finish the sentence. Doug, pushing his glasses up his nose, looked at Julie. "You ever teach?" "No," she said. "Just learned from someone who mattered. It would have ended there, it should have ended there. Except someone else had been watching from the glass window behind the range officer booth. He wore a dark windbreaker, no name tag, no obvious affiliation. But when Julie turned to leave, he didn't step aside. He stepped forward. "Julie Scott?" he asked. She hesitated. "My name's Jason Cole. I'm with the FBI." Julie raised an eyebrow. "That a problem?" "No, ma'am," he said with a faint smile. "Actually, I was wondering if you'd be willing to talk." She looked at him, at Chad still gaping behind her, at the bullet-shredded target still fluttering slightly on the line. Julie Scott didn't answer right away, but something in her eyes shifted just slightly, as if whatever she'd been trying to leave behind had just caught up to her. Julie didn't follow Agent Jason Cole right away. She stood there a moment longer, letting the weight of what just happened settle. The air in the shooting range, still laced with gunpowder and ego, felt too heavy to move through. Her target still hung from the clip, 5 shots in a hole no larger than a dime, and the murmurs of disbelief buzzed like low radio static behind her. Chad and Brett were quiet now, their earlier bravado crumbled into awkward shifting and sideways glances. Chad tried to recover with a half-hearted chuckle, like it was all some friendly joke, but no one laughed with him. Even Toby, who earlier couldn't be bothered to look up from his phone, stood rigid at the counter, eyes wide, like he'd just watched something unnatural unfold. Julie finally moved, slowly packing up her rifle with the same calm care she always did. Nothing flashy, nothing extra. Her fingers, steady as ever, guided each piece into place. Bolt removed, safety double-checked, zip, lock, lift. She carried it like it weighed nothing, but anyone paying attention could see she carried more than a rifle. Jason Cole waited for her outside in the hallway near the vending machines. The man looked out of place, not because of how he dressed, plain jeans and a jacket with a stitched American flag on the sleeve, but because of how he stood, like someone used to clearing rooms before stepping inside them. "Didn't mean to ambush you in there," he said as she approached. Julie leaned against the wall, keeping her rifle case between them. "You just happened to hang out at civilian shooting ranges looking for middle-aged women?" Jason smiled, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Not exactly. I was here because I got a tip that someone interesting had been showing up here every few Saturdays. Clean, disciplined, shooting like she was born behind a scope. Most folks thought it was a myth." Julie tilted her head. "And who's your source, Toby?" He didn't deny it. "Your name came up a few times. Word travels." She looked away, jaw flexing. She hated that. She'd been so careful to stay invisible, to shrink into this new life like a shadow against bark. Work, shoot, home. Repeat. No headlines, no noise. "I'm not interested in whatever it is you're here to offer," she said matter-of-factly. "I haven't offered anything yet. You don't need to. I know the type. I've met too many men in suits who think just because I know how to shoot I owe them something. Jason's gaze didn't shift. He wasn't trying to intimidate her. He wasn't even posturing. Just watching, like he was reading between the words, beneath the skin. "You served," he said. It wasn't a question. Julie didn't respond. That silence was answer enough. "Sniper?" he asked. Still, no answer, just that same stare. Cool, contained, unreadable. "I looked into your record," he continued. "You're clean. Too clean, really. Most folks who come out of the service don't stay invisible for long, but you? No VA visits, no social media, no vet groups, nothing. You've just disappeared." Julie folded her arms, still holding his gaze. "Maybe I wanted to." Jason nodded. "That's your right. But people like you don't just fade. Not without a reason." Julie pushed off the wall and turned to leave. "You're wasting your gift," he said. "Or maybe you're punishing yourself with it. But either way, I've seen enough today to know this country could use you again." She stopped. Jason stepped forward slowly. "We're building a small unit, consultants mostly, former special forces, LEOs, Tier 1 shooters, people who know the psychology of conflict, not just the mechanics. We're training agents on rapid response to active shooter scenarios, domestic terrorism, civilian panic containment. We've got good people, but none of them shoot like you." Julie's voice was quiet. "I didn't ask to be found. And I don't want to train weekend warriors who think firing at paper makes them warriors. That's not what we're doing." "Then what are you doing?" Jason pulled a folder from inside his jacket. It wasn't thick, no flashy seals. Just a few papers and a photograph clipped to the inside. He held it out, but Julie didn't take it. "3 weeks ago," he said, "we lost 2 agents in a warehouse in Montana, ambushed during a human trafficking raid. They were set up by a malicious cell we'd been tracking for months. Our guy was pinned down, no eyes on the target, and no one with the accuracy to end it without risking the hostages." Julie's jaw tightened. With the agents, she was new, 28, National Guard background, but green. We think she hesitated because she wasn't trained for that kind of decision-making under stress. We failed her. She died. And the shooter walked. Julie took the file now, more out of reflex than interest. She flipped it open, scanned the names. The photo of the agent stopped her hand. The woman looked young, brave, and just a little afraid. That look was familiar. She'd seen it in the mirror once. "We don't need more commandos," Jason said quietly. "We need people who understand how to read a room, a heartbeat and a trigger. People who can show others how not to flinch when it matters most. We need someone who's been there and survived." Julie closed the file. "And what if I'm not interested?" Jason gave her a small, respectful nod. "Then I thank you for your time and your talent, and I apologize for disturbing your peace." He turned to leave. Julie watched him walk down the hall, his boots echoing quietly on the linoleum. She stood there for a long moment, file still in hand, thumb pressing against the edge of the paper. What was she even doing at that range, week after week, hitting the same targets, measuring the same grouping? It wasn't about practice. She didn't need it. Her muscle memory was carved in bone. No, it was something else. She'd stopped talking after her husband died, stopped opening up, stopped looking forward. But not shooting. Never stopped that, because it was the one thing that still made sense, that kept the promise alive. Back home that evening, she sat on the worn armchair in her living room, rifle case leaning against the wall beside her. The file was still in her lap, open to the photo of the agent. She wasn't crying. Julie didn't cry anymore. But her fingers lingered on the page a moment too long. Outside, the Oregon woods were dark and quiet. Inside, something stirred. Not fear, not regret, something closer to resolve. 2 weeks passed before Julie Scott made the call. She didn't plan it. She didn't rehearse what she would say. 1 minute she was staring at the open file on her kitchen table, same photograph, same report she'd read a dozen times, and the next she had her phone pressed to her ear, dialing the number Jason Cole had scribbled on the back in neat, slanted handwriting. "Call," came the answer, short and direct. "It's Julie." There was the faintest pause on the line, like he wasn't sure if he'd imagined it. Then, "You ready to talk?" She exhaled slowly. "I come in. 1 day. 1 session. That's it." He didn't argue. "I'll send you a location. Tomorrow morning, 900. Washington County Law Enforcement Training Center. Bring what you need. You'll be a guest instructor." She hung up before he could say more. Julie told no one, not her supervisor at the mill, not the woman from down the road who left zucchini bread on her porch every couple of weeks. She packed her rifle, her field gear, a worn-out notebook that still smelled faintly of cordite and desert wind, and drove through the night. She didn't sleep much anymore anyway. The training center was sharp-edged and cold, government gray with bulletproof windows and security cameras that blinked like slow heartbeats. Inside, the hall smelled like fresh paint and recycled air. No dust, no character, just protocol. Jason met her near the armory. He looked more official this time. FBI polo shirt, khakis, ID badge on a lanyard. Still that calm, tactical posture, like he belonged wherever he stood. But he didn't speak like a Fed. That was something she'd picked up on right away. "Follow me," he said simply. They walked through 2 security checkpoints and down a concrete corridor until they reached a metal door marked Training Simulator 3. Jason keyed in a code. The door buzzed open. Inside was a massive shooting bay with 3 lanes, each flanked by programmable targets on moving tracks. Beyond that was a simulation room, an exact replica of a gas station mart, complete with dusty shelves, fake cash registers, even a buzzing fluorescent light in the corner. It was meant to stress-test reactions under chaotic conditions. "I don't do speeches," Julie said, setting her gear down. "You won't need to, just show them." The recruits filtered in 5 minutes later. 9 in total. 7 men, 2 women. All of them under 30. Some carried themselves like they'd already seen action. Others moved with stiffness, like they were still memorizing how to hold their gear without looking clumsy. One guy with a shaved head and a 5.1 tactical backpack kept glancing at Julie like she was lost or wandered into the wrong building. Jason stepped forward. "This is Julie Scott. She's here to demonstrate a live scenario and provide feedback. Watch carefully." A few eyebrows raised, no one spoke. One of the women, short, sturdy with freckles and a Glock holstered high on her thigh, nodded to Julie. Respectful, no smirk. Julie picked up her rifle and adjusted the scope without saying a word. The silence stretched. Jason leaned into the control panel and hit a switch. The simulation room roared to life. Gunfire blared from speakers. A voice screamed, "He's got a gun!" and lights flickered in bursts of red and white. Targets moved into position. Some marked as civilians, others armed, mid-mac, emerging from doors or ducking behind shelves. Julie walked in calmly. Not a sprint, not a charge. Just fluid movement. She raised the rifle, sighted, and dropped to one knee. Rack. First target, armed male behind the counter. Down. Pivot. Crack. Armed threat near the soda machine, center mass. She swept right. Target ducking behind a fake ATM. One breath. Crack. The figure dropped. 3 more shots, 3 more clean takedowns, not a single civilian hit, all under 20 seconds. Then, silence. Jason turned to the recruits. "Any of you want to give it a shot?" The guy with the tactical backpack raised his hand first. Yeah. I've done sim work before." He walked in with the practiced confidence of someone who had trained a lot but never been truly afraid. His first shot hit wide. Second grazed a civilian. By the time he was done, 1 threat was left standing and 2 civilians were marked as casualties. He stepped back, clearing his weapon. His expression was strained. Jason didn't comment. "Julie did. Your footwork gave away your angle before you even aimed," she said, voice calm but cutting. You leaned out before your muzzle was ready. You're fast, but you're loud." The recruit blinked. "I was trying to be aggressive, dominate the space." She shook her head. "You're not there to dominate. You're there to survive, to protect. You don't announce yourself to a man with a hostage. You go in. You wait. You pick your shot." Another recruit raised his hand. "What about hesitation? Aren't we taught to engage decisively?" Julie looked at him, then slowly approached. "I hesitated once," she said. "Back in Kandahar. I had a window, 3 seconds. Target had a child shielded behind him. I blinked, just once. We lost 2 men. Her voice didn't crack, but her fingers closed around the sling of her rifle like she was holding on to the past. "There's a difference between hesitation and control. I'm not asking you to be cold. I'm asking you to be right." Silence again. But this time, not from doubt, from attention. Jason motioned toward the back hallway. "We've got another run scheduled in 15. Want to grab some air?" Julie nodded. Outside, the sky had brightened to that pale, colorless morning hue. Not quite blue, not quite anything. Jason leaned against a railing. "You were good in there." "I was clear," she corrected. "There's a difference." "Whatever you call it, they listened. We could use that." Julie looked out toward the parking lot, hands in her pockets. "I'm not a leader." "No, you're something better. You're proof." She didn't answer that. Not with words. But her silence didn't carry retreat anymore. It carried something else. She turned to him after a moment. "Do you have another file?" He raised an eyebrow. "Another what?" "Another agent who froze. Someone who needs to see something different. Someone like her." She pointed at the photo still etched in her mind. Jason nodded slowly. "Yeah, I've got one." "Send it to me," Julie said. "I'll come back. One more time." And that's when Jason smiled. Not because she agreed, but because he knew something she hadn't said aloud yet. Billy Scott wasn't returning one more time. She'd already come back. The sun cracked the horizon in shades of bronze and rust as Julie pulled into the gravel lot behind the training compound for the 3rd time that month. It was still early. The kind of early that made the air smell like metal and new beginnings. The same kids from her first day, well, most of them, were already there, stretching, double-checking their gear, some nervously joking, others lost in their own routines. Julie didn't wave, she didn't nod. She just stepped out of her truck, slung her rifle over one shoulder, and walked with the same quiet confidence she always did, boots landing soft, not a sound wasted. By now, the recruits had stopped underestimating her. In fact, they stood a little straighter when she passed, like the ghost of her reputation was enough to pull their spines into place. She had shown them something that week, something no YouTube tactics guru or academy instructor could replicate. She'd shown them what stillness looks like right before a storm breaks, and what it means when the storm chooses you to end it. Jason met her at the entrance with 2 coffees in hand. He handed one to her without a word. They stood there for a moment, shoulder to shoulder, watching the young men and women prepare. "Recruit group rotates next week," he said eventually. "This is your last day with this one." Julie sipped the coffee. "They ready?" Jason gave a small shrug. "They're better than they were." "Because of you." She didn't smile, but something softened around her eyes. "It's not about making them perfect, just making them ready enough to hesitate less and think more." He turned to look at her. "You know, you've done more than show them how to shoot." Julie turned her face toward the field, eyes narrowing as one of the recruits adjusted her stance. "I didn't come here to inspire anybody. You didn't need to. They just needed to see what right looks like." She didn't reply, but she didn't walk away either. The final exercise of the day wasn't held inside the simulator. This time they were going live. Field scenario, outdoor terrain, 3 target zones, 1 shooter assigned per area. The rest would rotate in support, spotters, and communication relays. Julie had designed the entire thing the night before, sitting at her kitchen table with maps and a black Sharpie. Not some overblown tactical fantasy, just practical reality with pressure points built in. As the first scenario kicked off, the recruits moved through cover like they'd been drilled under fire. Julie walked behind them with a clipboard, not marking mistakes with check marks or red X's, but jotting down single words. Timing, line of sight, decision fatigue. She saw every microflinch, every inch of hesitation disguised as checking angles. By the third run, they were tighter, smarter, no civilian target hits, no wasted shots. Jason stood off to the side, arms crossed, watching her as much as them. She'd stopped giving orders. They'd started anticipating her expectations. By the fourth rotation, one of the female recruits, Freckles, the one with the Glock on her thigh, missed a target because she spotted a toddler silhouette near the edge of the fake gas pump. The moment she lowered her weapon instead of forcing the shot, Julie called, "Cut!" The air went still. Freckles stood up slowly, pulling off her ear protection. "I didn't have a clean shot," she said, almost defensive. Julie walked over to her, expression unreadable. "You didn't take it?" "No," Freckles said. "I waited." Julie was quiet for a moment. "Good," she said. Freckles blinked. "Really? You had 2 seconds to decide. You read the frame right. Most people would have panicked, or worse, fired on instinct. But I didn't complete the drill." Julie stepped closer, tapping the edge of the cardboard child's silhouette. "You passed a harder one." Freckles smiled. It wasn't broad, but it was the kind you don't forget. By midday, the final exercise wrapped. The instructors clapped, some recruits high-fived each other, others just sat on the grass and let the sweat settle. Jason handed out feedback packets, while Julie quietly cleaned her rifle at the edge of the range. One by one, the recruits came over to her. Not for autographs, not for photos, just handshakes, thank yous. One of them, a tall guy with bad aim but excellent spatial instincts, held out a folded note. "For you," he said, awkward. "It's just something I wrote." After the first day, Julie hesitated. She took the paper. Didn't open it right away. After everyone left, she sat on the tailgate of her truck, unwrapped the foil around a sandwich she barely remembered packing, and read the note. "I didn't know people like you were real. You don't shout, you don't perform, but everything about the way you move teaches something. I think I'll remember your silence more than I remember anyone else's speeches. Thank you." She folded the note and tucked it into her breast pocket. When Jason came out of the admin office, he found her still sitting there. "I've got a proposition," he said. She didn't look up. "You're about to ask me to stay, aren't you?" He smiled. "No. I'm going to ask if you'd consult full-time, design more curriculum, mentor a couple junior instructors. We'll give you space, freedom. You come in when you want, lead what you want. You don't answer to bureaucracy. You answer to purpose." Julie considered that. "I'm not a teacher." "You are now, whether you like it or not." She looked out over the range one last time, where empty shell casings still glinted in the dirt like echoes. Something about this place, this exact moment, felt final. Not like an ending, but like the last page of one chapter curling into the first of something new. She stood up and slung her rifle case over her shoulder. "If I say yes, I want to do it my way. No photos, no headlines, no interviews, just the work." Jason extended his hand. "Deal." She shook it. As they walked toward the main building, Julie paused and looked back. "One more time. You ever think about how strange it is?" she asked. Jason raised an eyebrow. "What?" A quiet woman, mocked at a shooting range, and now she's training federal agents to save lives. Jason grinned. "Life has a weird sense of humor." Julie smiled. A real one this time. Small, but deep. "Let's hope it's a good teacher, too." And with that, they stepped through the doorway into a future that, for once, wasn't about running from the past, but about aiming for something that finally mattered.